Okay. Hey girl, let's sit down and talk about week 5. I'm so tired right now. It has been really hard to record week 5, recovering a sense of possibility. It took me a long time to even do this chapter as well. What's today? Tomorrow's the 20th. Okay. Today is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. So, week 4, recovering a sense of integrity, and week 5, recovering a sense of possibility, took me a total of about 22 days to complete. I definitely had to deal with a lot of slow processing when it came to really getting the messages that were being downloaded for week 5, recovering a sense of possibility. It took me so long. I had a lot of setbacks and interruptions. I had a lot of interesting encounters. And the things that I did experience, it all feels like it's aligned with the message of week 5. So I took some notes. I'm going to start off with a chapter recap, and then we'll get into the check-in. This week, you are being asked to examine your payoffs and remaining stuck. You will examine the cost of settling for appearing good instead of being authentic. Julia starts this chapter off of talking about limitations and the limitations that we set on God and how we do this unconsciously. Basically, this chapter is saying that with God, all things are possible, but it's not just that all things are possible. With God, anything is possible. There is an unlimited number of possibilities with God if we go to the source, if we remember the source within ourselves. Literally any single thing can be possible. And I wrote down some things that really resonated with me. Number 1, God is far more powerful than my comprehension, which is true. We unconsciously put limits on what God can do in our lives. We must remember that God is our source. I am in the spiritual position to have an unlimited bank account, I do not decide what is possible. I do not decide how powerful God is or put limits on what God can do in my life. That's a lot to process. It's a lot to process because I have to accept it. I have to let it integrity, right? I have to let it be a part, not just a part of my belief, but I have to feel that anything is possible. And when I decide what God can and cannot do, I am therefore putting limits on myself and the possibility of my success, the possibility of my recovery, the possibilities on my life. Unconsciously, I have an expectation of how God is going to show up in my life. This is 100% true. I've always been a believer. Even when I would struggle with believing in God, there was something inside me that was like, I can't 100% be an atheist. I can't 100% just not believe that there's a higher power out there. And I did have the programming of believing in anything that's possible, but with the crisis and the setbacks that I experienced, that really challenged my belief system. It really challenged what I believed was possible. And one of the things that Julia talks about in this chapter is, well, she asks us, she goes, what are some of the reasons why it might be hard for you to believe in God? And for me, it's really hard to believe in a God where there is an unlimited amount of love or bank accounts and stuff like that, because I've had so much setback in my life, because I've experienced cruelty, I've experienced a lot of unfairness. I've just had a hard life. However, at the same time, I do recognize that my basic needs have always been met. I come into blessings, and when I really put my mind behind something, when I really believe in something, I can manifest that thing. I was able to manifest a life in New York City for 1 year. I was able to move to Orlando, Florida for 2 years. I was able to have a life in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But moving on its own from state to state and reestablishing yourself in each state and connecting with different people and finding jobs and doing all that type of stuff and finding your footing is a big deal. The fact that I was able to do it 3 times, I know that wasn't just me. That was me tapping into the possibilities that God put before me. That was me tapping into my beliefs and manifesting my beliefs into the material. I can see that. At the same time, I struggle with consistently believing that there are an unlimited number of possibilities. The hardships in my life have just been so painful that that pain lives in my body. And for some reason, anytime that I try to believe in the impossible again, there is a fear that comes up. There is a hesitation. There is like skepticism that comes up, which is really hard to deal with because I've always been an optimistic person. I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. I'm so tired I want to cry. And I don't want to cry because I'm sad. I'm just tired. I'm really, really exhausted. But I'm still gonna go to the gym and I still wanted to do this video. I'm gonna continue reading some other things that I wrote. One thing that I realized is that I project beliefs and limits on what God can do or will do in my life. The book also talks about how sometimes we project onto God the image of a moody parent that is more prone to punish and discipline through unpleasantries than an entity that is willing and available to give at all times. I attribute that belief or perception to my religious trauma. Growing up Catholic, that's just a religion of guilt. And I just remember fearing God a lot and feeling like I needed to be perfect in order to receive certain things. But the way Julia presents God, or how she understands God to be, is this entity that wants nothing but good for us, that wants us to be happy and enjoy life. And that what we want for ourselves is no different than what God wants for us. God is ready to validate us. God is ready to give. God wants us to tap in to the unlimited amount of resources that she has for us. And it's really hard to believe that because we're talking about unconditional love. We're talking about unconditional giving. And me coming from a background, from a family that felt that I was a burden, that didn't protect me, that felt that it was a burden to meet my needs, I think that causes me to have a block to believe that there is this untangible entity somewhere out there that is just ready to love me and give me whatever I want and need. It's really hard to tap into that and accept that, but I'm willing. Something else that Julia talks about, she's talking a lot about how we keep ourselves stuck and putting limitations on God and what is possible. That's one way that we keep ourselves stuck. Another way that she talks about that we keep ourselves stuck is through negative patterns, such as betraying ourselves or abandoning ourselves to appear good to people that, in my opinion, don't even matter. And so the whole chapter is talking about how we get in our own way. And she asks us, are we self-destructive? The charm today, what I affirm myself as, is somebody who is not self-destructive. I do not entertain self-sabotage. I do not self-sabotage. I build, I am successful, I do what is in my best interest, I do not self-betray. But all of those affirmations that I'm saying come from a place of me, once upon a time, betraying myself, shrinking myself, giving myself away for breadcrumbs of love and connection and acceptance. And again, that has to do with the love deprivation that I experienced as a young child, which then programmed me to tolerate being deprived in adulthood. And it's really interesting that Julia touches on deprivation in this chapter, I think. or is that chapter 6? Because I'm in week 6 right now while I'm making week 5 video. So I don't remember right now. But it's still a thing. It's still a thing. It's still relevant to the conversation of week 4, recovering a sense of possibility, because the opposite of unlimited possibilities, the opposite of abundance is lack, is deprivation, is constriction. And once upon a time, the old version of me lived in that space, and I was unconscious that I lived in that space, especially when it came to relationships, romantic relationships. And there's always been this tug of war in my life of wanting to lean more towards the optimistic, healthy side of me that believes that anything is possible and we live life to the fullest, right? And then the other side of me that's like, wait, I have to work for that, or I'm not good enough for that yet. I got to be good enough, or I got to be perfect enough for whatever thing. Those two sides of me are like always fighting with each other. There's a tension. And one of the reasons why it's hard to believe in a God that gives unlimited funds is because it's too easy. How how you just gonna give it to me without me having to do something? You mean I don't gotta earn it? I don't gotta prove myself. I don't gotta do anything. You just gonna give me this money because you want me to be happy? You know how hard that is to believe, because in this human realm, it feels like everything comes with strings attached. It feels like everything is transactional even when it's not transactional. It feels like if we take romantic love into consideration, and it's supposed to be this like unconditional soft space that we're in, but really in order to maintain a romantic partner, or attract a romantic partner, number one, they have to want something from you, and we have to want something from them. That's just right then and there. It's either like they're attracted, so that makes us interested in them and we want to get closer so that we can be close to that attraction. Same thing with them to us. Or I don't know, they're funny, so we want to be around them being funny, or they have hobbies that are a mutual interest for us, so now we want to spend time with them to do those hobbies. You see how it's like we want, and on that side they want. And so it's like we exchange these tangible and non-tangible benefits with one another to get our needs met. And then I look at that and I'm like, well, that means I had to do something. I had to be a certain type of somebody. I had to show up in a certain way in order to secure this person being interested in me and choosing me. Even if it's the healthiest type of love where they are choosing me because of my positive attributes, I still had to be a certain type of person, do a certain type of something. And what week 5, recovering a sense of possibility, is doing is saying that I don't have to. I don't have to be a certain type of person. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to prove myself, because I have access to an unlimited bank account. I have access to unlimited love. I have access to unlimited jokes, unlimited ideas, unlimited jobs. And all I have to do is be in touch with the creator within myself and be in alignment with a creative life or artistry. And that's really hard for me to accept, because I'm like, that's it? That's it? That's all I got to do? Oh my God. Okay, so what else does week 5 talk about? I really liked Julia Cameron talking about clearing away these negative patterns, and I did identify a lot of negative patterns that I need to clear out. And I really think that's why it was so hard to process week 5, because so much came up. So much came up about my identity, who I want to be, who do I have to be in order to get the type of success that I want. What did I do in my past to get in my own way? What are the negative beliefs that I have that get in my own way? It was a lot of that like introspection. And I want to read something from this week that talks about clearing out those negative patterns. In order to clear negative patterns, I must identify the negative patterns. That means I have to face myself compassionately. I have to be willing to look at myself because we don't know what we don't know. I must face my shadows. I must do the work. The only way that I'm going to be able to get to where it is that God wants me to go and continue on my path of self-actualization and self-defined success is if I take my damn time. I clear out negative patterns. I get clear about what it is that I want, and I recognize as well as and I recognize as well as accept the gifts when God gives them to me. That's really challenging. But all it's saying is when I'm in alignment with the creator within, then endless possibilities open up. I think that's what it's trying to say. Here's my biggest takeaway. We must come to recognize that God is in unlimited supply and that everyone has access. God does not run out of blessings. Someone else receiving a gift from God does not take one away from me. And I will apply this and practice this in my daily life. Receiving God's good is an act of worship, and cooperating with God's plan will manifest goodness in my life. God has lots of money. God has lots of song ideas. God has lots of lyrics. God has lots of strategies. God has lots of joke ideas. God has lots of opportunities. God has a lot of comedy gigs. God has a lot of friends, an unlimited amount of lovers, an unlimited amount of acting jobs, an unlimited amount of houses. God has an unlimited amount of food, honey child, and experiences and trips and so much more that are available to me. There are no limitations. And by listening to the creator within, I will be led to the right path. And on this path, I will find meaningful work. Overall, what this is saying is what Blue Ivy been said. I ain't see a ceiling in my whole life. The sky is the limit, okay? There is no glass ceiling. Opportunities are endless. And I'm trying to grind that into my head because if I think that way, if I make that my core belief that the opportunities are endless, that I am always taken care of, that I am dependent on the creator within, then that is going to impact how I feel. That's going to make me feel invincible. It's going to make me feel confident. It's going to make me feel capable. And then that is going to influence the decisions I make, the behaviors that I engage in. So it's really, really important to keep that in mind, to like use affirmations to really influence my perception of the world and what is possible with God's help. Something else that she talks about, which is really, really significant, is that she says that when we depend, or more so, when we develop spiritual dependency, when we depend on God and the creator within, it allows us to have more fulfilling relationships because we are less scared of intimacy, because we are then less scared of being abandoned. And it still is hard for me to kind of like wrap my head around it. And I really think what she's saying is that seek validation first from God and yourself. Validate yourself, affirm yourself. Let go of your obsession with external validation, with human validation. When we know that God has an unlimited amount of validation, an unlimited amount of love for us, we're set because that's our foundation. When things are unlimited, when things are in abundance, we don't lack and need more. We're not acting from a place of deprivation. So why would I be so thirsty for a woman's validation or for somebody to accept me when I know that God loves me, God accepts me, I'm good, I trust my perceptions, I validate me. So that's what I'm getting from this is validate yourself first. Seek validation and confirmation from God. And that's the best way I can put it. So, Here is a realization that I wrote too. I said, if I am the product of the greatest artist of all time, which is God, if I am a product of the original creator, and she has an unlimited supply of creative energy, that means that I have access to an unlimited supply of creative energy. I have an unlimited supply of jokes. I have an unlimited supply of poems, of money, of sketches, of funny ideas that bring joy and relief to people. And I do this through comedy. God is the highest form of creativity because he is the original creator. He is source. He created us. Dependency on the creator within allows us to truly be intimate with other human beings because you are freed from your terrible fear of abandonment. So yeah, this was an interesting chapter for sure. It was an interesting chapter for sure. Things are still marinating, and I'm definitely creating affirmations that have to do with integrating the truth that there's an unlimited amount of possibilities. I did week 5 technically from February 2nd, 2026 until February 8th, 2026. And it's the 19th. So that was 11 days ago. And after I did that, I still needed to like marinate on it while like I went through looking at week 6. Yeah, there were some blocks that came up because it was hard. It was just really hard, but it was worth it. Okay, now time for the check-in. Let me get my book. Okay, so the check-in. How many times this week did you do your morning pages? For week 5, I did my morning pages 5 days out of 7 days. Did you do your artist date? No, I didn't do my artist date, but I tried to. I got these little kits to teach myself how to sew. But what I realized is that I can't teach myself how to knit in one artist date. I was really frustrated, but I'm determined. I'm determined to learn how to crochet. It's just going to take me a little bit longer. So these are just going to be creative activities that I figure out. But this was my attempt. I wanted to do this for my artist date. I experienced a lot of synchronicity by way of things falling away. Like so many things went away. Like I ended a romantic relationship. I ended a relationship with a therapist. I went no contact with my mom. I experienced a lot of like no's the first week that I started, week 5, which was interesting because it's just like when it's a week 5 of possibility, like recovering a sense of possibility, and then like I'm experiencing no, 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 no after no after no. That was just like hard to understand because I'm just like, yo, God, why are you telling me no when this is about the fact that you give out unlimited yeses, you know? But what I realized is that had a shift in my perception, and that in order to bring in possibility, in order to make room for abundance, I have to strip away negative patterns. And some of those negative patterns show up in my relationships. I have to strip away what's not aligned. I have to strip away the people that don't see me. That puts me in a dangerous position when somebody doesn't see me for who I actually am, right? And so that's what I saw by way of synchronicity during week 5. It was just like a lot of clearing out. So much was being cleared out. I almost had a breakdown because I'm just like, yo, can we slow down all this clearing out? The only other issue is just how long I took. Like I took a very long time on week 5. I was distracted by the romantic relationship that I ended, and I realized that it was just another unhealthy, toxic connection that was not good for me. Like it was really dysregulating, and that dysregulation caused me to make not the best decisions. And it was just a wake-up call that it's really important to be very specific about the type of people that I'm around and where my energy goes. Because I'm in a very vulnerable space right now as I am transitioning from the old self-concept, the old version of me, and I'm transitioning into a new self-concept, somebody who owns being an artist, someone who no longer self-betrays, no longer sabotages. I'm recovering from 3 years of crisis, and that's being in that like shifting stage where I'm in transition is a very vulnerable place to be in. So that's all I got, girl. We gonna go to the gym now. We are tired. We are exhausted. But we gonna make it do what it do, boo.